Hi guys, and welcome to Samsung Now. Samsung Now is where we look at all things Samsung, all things tech, and all things gaming, and everything in between. So if you like any or all of that, or some of that, or even just a little bit of it, don't forget to subscribe. It's this big arrow coming down, and it's just there. You see it? Also, if you're interested, huge giveaway, trying to get the channel up to 1,000 subscribers. All you need to do is watch the video. There's another one where I talk about the giveaway, so look out for that. But today we're going to be talking about the iPhone. So why are we talking about the iPhone when this is kind of a Samsung channel and a tech channel and so on, and games and whatnot, but we rarely mention Apple? Well, there's the iPhone 8 is due to come out very soon, whatever it's likely to be called. Plus, there's always been this ongoing battle between Apple and Samsung. And, you know, there's those that are Apple fans, and then there's those that are Samsung fans. And then there's kind of people like me that moved from Apple, from the iPhone, to Android. And I've done that a few times over the years. I've come back and forth. And I was, not so long ago, a huge Apple fan. I was a big fanboy for Apple. In the 90s, I worked for them. I got the, you know, when I could, I would always get the latest Apple gear that was coming out. And then I started to get very frustrated with the Apple ecosystem, with the way sort of Apple treated its customers in terms of what they were charging and what you were getting in return. Was starting to the prices were going up, and what you were getting in return was getting much less. And I was seeing people on the Android platforms getting much more. And it wasn't until a bit later that I sort of started springing for Samsung phones. And then I realized, you know, that it need not be this closed ecosystem, that it can still get everything and more. And you know, I've enjoyed it and loved it ever since. But I've still hold sort of Apple close to my heart in a lot of regards. So with that in mind, let's talk about the iPhone 8 and why is it significant? Well, it's likely to launch in September. There's probably going to be a press conference. I think they kind of do them in August. I can't remember. What we do know, though, is that it's going to be expensive, like really expensive, like $1,000 expensive, which is just ridiculous. Ridiculous for a phone to be $1,000. It's been 10 years since it's launched, so they're likely to be doing this huge redesign, which we'll talk about in a moment. It's going to be running the latest OS 11. They're talking about wireless charging, which is, you know, oh, Android have been doing that for years, which is true, they have, but apparently Apple are using some sort of clever chip that allows it to charge even faster than it would if it were connected to, you know, hardwired through its little plug. The screen is meant to be, I think, 5.8, and it's meant to be this all-encompassing screen. The fingerprint sensor apparently has gone. What it's been replaced with, or where it's been moved to, remains to be seen. There is talk that it's the Apple have designed some screen area on the lower part of the phone, that even though it's the screen, it's actually senses the fingerprint. How true that is, I don't know, and I can imagine that to develop is crazy. If they've done something like that, that'd be amazing. Chances are there's talk also that Apple have developed some kind of 3D facial recognition. So their sort of facial recognition, and I don't know whether it uses or will use iris recognition too, is going to be much better than we're seeing it being adopted and used in the S8 phones. And as an aside, the iris scanner is a real pain in the ass. I use the facial recognition, but half the time I've entered my passcode much quicker than what the phone has actually recognized my face. And maybe there's a chance they've moved the fingerprint sensor to be a thumb sensor down the side of the phone. Maybe if you're holding the phone in a particular way, We've heard that before from Apple. If you're holding the phone in a particular way, you know, maybe that acts as the side of the phone just naturally acts as a sensor to that. Who knows? Maybe it's, you know, even a palm print sensor. Who knows? Who knows? There's meant to be 2 vertical cameras on the back of the phone. So when it's in portrait, like my phone on the S8 is right now, it allows for a better use of depth of field, and it has a better zoom ability. There's also meant to be this A11 super fast killing S8 phone chip thing that's in it. It's going to have, possibly going to have a glass back. Now, maybe, you know, maybe just for a certain edition will have the glass back. Now, this is where it gets a little bit confusing. There's meant to be, it's either going to be the iPhone 8, or there's going to be a couple of versions where it's the iPhone edition or anniversary or X or whoever or whatever it's going to be called, which would be the fancy new phone, the one with the fancy screen and the sensor's been removed and it's got the fancy facial recognition and all the fancy schmancy nonsense that probably no one's ever going to use. And that's the one that's probably going to be $1,000. iPhone 7S or an 8, which will have a lot of the innards of what the edition or an X or anniversary or whatever it's going to be called of the really fancy big phone, but without the big phone screen and all that fancy stuff. Apple kind of need to do this. They kind of need to have 2 separate versions. One for the premiere, sort of, here we are, everyone will want this because it's the super duper fancy amazing phone that we've ever produced, and then there's those that really can't justify spending $1,000 on a phone. What could be the killer app on the iPhone 8 could be the fact that they have this AR kit. There is rumor to suggest that the new super iPhone, whatever it's going to be called, will have some killer app that uses this augmented reality kit within it, that has it embedded within the phone, that makes the phone unique. And in a lot of ways, Apple need to do this. The last couple of weeks, there's been some videos circulating of a developer using it in terms of a sat-nav. You're actually seeing it live as you're walking around, and you're seeing arrows sort of going down the street and guiding you as to where you need to be. The phone's ability to, with all its sensors, it doesn't need any external sort of tracking. The expanse in which it can operate is unlimited. Apple really need to do something with that. They need to pull something out of the bag and have something developed that makes it so compelling to go for the super duper X edition anniversary phone. And I imagine and I feel, and some of the rumors I've read are kind of pointing towards that it might be some development on that. And they kind of, Apple have to do this. They have to be seen to be getting involved in virtual reality, augmented reality and what have you, when you see that Microsoft, Samsung and pretty much everyone else are already on board and already way ahead, so it seems, than Apple. Will it be better than the S8? Well, I've just made some quick notes, and the chances are it's likely to be faster. iPhones are incredibly fast, very efficient phones. The screen apparently is not likely to be curved like the S8. But here's the thing, for those of you that actually own an S8 or an S7 Edge, how many of you actually use the edge aspects of the screen? Because to me, sometimes I find it more of an annoyance than anything that, I actually benefit from using. It looks nice, as a design aspect, it looks good. But in terms of any sort of actionable benefit that I get from it, I think it's very limited. The wireless charging, Android phones have had that forever. I've got a wireless charging dock for the S8. It goes okay. It's not as quick as I hoped it would be, as I was kind of sold it would be, but it's, you know, better than plugging it in all the time. In terms of Apple using wireless charging, it's way, way late to have them, you know, finally come out and, you know, announce that as a big thing. So they either just say, yeah, it does wireless charging. We've been really late with this, or they go, here's wireless charging and it's faster than everyone. It's the fastest. It's actually faster than plugging it in. And apparently that's what some of the rumors are. I also have a problem with their OS. If we look at how Samsung have developed, you know, their own sort of veneer over Android and how others have done it, they've done exceptional jobs. The OS, even though OS 11 or whatever it's called for the Apple that's coming out on the iPhone, still looks a bit dated for me. You know, they tried that, you know, thankfully they moved away from the, I think it's called skeuomorphic, where they try and make things sort of that have natural appealing aspects from nature and design and put it into their icons and what have you, and that started to look really awful. And then they went for a different color palette when Johnny Ive took over the design of the software as well, in terms of how it was looking, and things improved dramatically then, but still, you know, it still looks a bit dated. It still looks a bit sweet shop. The other thing is the iPhone camera has always been a really, really great camera. The one on the S8 is okay, you know, we're using this for the video. I know a lot of you get tired of the autofocus, and I get tired of that too, and I'm still trying to figure out how to stop that doing it. But the iPhone cameras have always been pretty top notch, and that's likely to get even better in terms of, you know, the whole new sort of camera layout and the additional upgraded camera. I think they're both meant to be 12 megapixel cameras on the back, so that'll be really interesting. So they've always kind of stolen the show, but it's got closer over the years, and the S8 phone camera is pretty decent, but it's still just a single lens camera on the back. And then we have Siri, Bixby and Google Assistant. The best one out of all those is Google Assistant by a country mile and then some. Siri, every time I've used it, it's just really bad. I just gave up using it when it was on, when I had the iPhone. My best friend still has an iPhone, and you know, he has to speak to his iPhone in a particular way so it understands him. And he's not got a particularly thick accent of any kind, but it still struggles to understand him. And the information it pulls is so random sometimes. It's just a really useless. However, talking of random and useless, we have Bixby on the Samsung S8, which we have an actual dedicated button for, and I'm in the UK and we're still yet to get the full Bixby, you know, app as they promised when they launched the phone. In the US, you guys now have that, so I don't know how that's working for you, if the whole voice activation integration thing is making Bixby more appealing. Siri by far is still the crappiest sort of AI that's out there. But those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts, the rumors that you've heard, your thoughts on Apple. You know, were you an Apple fanboy like me, and then you moved to Android, and what's your experience of that? Are you a Android guy that's moved over to the iPhone, or thinking of moving to the iPhone? You know, let me know your experiences, because I know that I'm not that unique in terms of somebody that's jumped ship from Apple to Android, and I think there's quite a lot of us that have done that over the years. It's a real turning point for Apple and their iPhone, and now is their chance to really show that they can innovate. And if they don't, there's going to be a lot of upset Apple folk out there. Okay guys, I know it's been a long video, I've said that several times. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to have a look at the giveaway that I'm doing, which is a Gear VR and Puck.